In this Archicad training series, we are going to explore how to use Archicad as a design tool, and we will take whatever things we are dreaming about in our heads and bring it into the software and see how far it can get it. Now, to get the most out of the software, we are going to explore the different tools that are available to us, the drafting tools, the design tools, and the document tools in order to document a storied building. Now, this series is going to take you from scratch all the way to documenting your first storied building while using the most of Archicad tools available. Hi everyone, it's Nathan here at Archicad Studio, and I'm pretty excited today because as a way of celebrating 10,000 subscribers, I have put together this course and it will be available here on YouTube and you can get to enjoy it. Thank you so much for making this happen for Archicad Studio. Now, obviously, this video is going to be very long, so I have put timestamps on within the video itself such that you can jump to a specific section and continue from where you left off. And if you happen to be using other platforms as well, I will leave links to that in the description below, so you can watch either on Skillshare if you happen to have an account there, or you can create one such that you watch without an ad. Now, this series is being prepared with Archicad version 25, but if you have an earlier version or even later, that is to say 26, you should be able to follow along just fine, because most of the tools that we are going to be using are available for a whole host of Archicad versions, so you should be able to follow along just fine. And without much further ado, let's get started with this series. Alright, so let's talk about the Archicad interface. To the top right corner, we have the file name. In this case, it's called Studios. And then just after that, we have the Archicad version that I'm using, and currently I'm using 25. And just below that, we have the menu bar, which is right in this corner. We have File, Edit, View, Design, Document, all the way to Help. So this actually contains most of the stuff that we are going to talk about in this video. And of course, if you are using any other software in Windows, you should be familiar with the menu bar. And just below that, we have the standard toolbar. Now, the standard toolbar contains editing tools such as undo, redo, find and select, pick up parameters, inject parameters, and so on and so forth. And these are actually contained within the edit. If you can see, we have undo, redo. And if for some reason you cannot be able to see this kind of tab, you may want to go to Window and go Toolbars, and then we have a standard there. If I click that, it disappears. If I go back, which is Window, Toolbars, we have here standard, and right there it's back. So then below that we have the info box. So the info box will display information of anything that's being selected. For example, you can see here arrow is selected. That's the information about the arrow. If I select Mark U, it changes to that. If I select this wall, it changes to that. If I select column, it changes to that. And then this leads us to this panel here, which is the toolbox. Now, the toolbox is where we have the different elements that we shall be using in order to come up with this design that you're seeing right here. It's as simple as drag, pick, and drop it in there, and it will be created. All right, but that's not for this time. So within the toolbox, we have 3 tabs. We have the first one as the design, and the next one as the viewport, and then the next one as the design. Within the design, we have the elements that we have, like you have seen, and within the viewport, we have the different symbols that we can use, like section, elevation, stuff like that. If I go to the ground floor, you can see that's when they appear, so you can be able to pick like a section and draw it within elevations, interior elevations, detail, worksheet, and camera. And below that, we have the document, which contains things like lines, fills, polylines, circles, and the rest of the things that we shall be looking at, like dimensions. And if for some reason we do not have that toolbox, you may want to go to Window, Palettes, and you can see toolbox right here, and as well you can see info box is in here. So if I say toolbox, it disappears. If I go back to window, palettes, and toolbox, it is brought back to where it is right now. And to the right, we have what we call the navigator pane. And this helps us to go to the different views that were created. For example, we have the ground floor, first floor, stuff like that. All those are contained in here. We have sections, we have elevations, and mostly all the other things that we shall be working on. So we shall be using this in order to navigate through different views. And this has 4 tabs to it. We have the first tab, which is the project map, and that is what contains what we have talked about. And then after that, we have the saved views. So that contains the views which you intentionally save. And then after that, we have the layout book, where we shall be putting those saved views onto layouts in order to be exported into PDFs. And just after that, we have a publisher right there. So publisher here is where you can save, publish formats for the web, and also for other people that you work with. For example, if you have colleagues who are doing engineering and they need a DWG, you can publish that and send it over to them. So that's a quick overview. And in case you cannot be able to see it, you can click on this icon right here, such that you can be able to right click here and say navigator. You can see that right now it disappears, but in order to get it back, you can right click and say navigator, and it will be embedded to the right there. And then to the bottom, we have what we call a quick options here. You can see there is previous zoom, next zoom. We have the zoom tool. If, for example, I click on it and zoom to this area, it will definitely take me to that. And then if I click on previous zoom, we go back to where we were. Next zoom, previous zoom. So you can navigate between those two ones. And then there is fit to window, which will fit everything that you have drawn in the same window. And then we have the percentage representation. For example, if you want to know how it's going to look like when it's printed, you can put it at 100%, and then by holding down the middle mouse button in order to grab the paper with the hand, you can see what it would look like once it is printed. And then we have this rotate, which you can use in case you want to rotate this paper temporarily. You can definitely do that. And you can see the different angles by which you can rotate this thing, maybe like 100, 180, and then back to 0. Then after that, we have the scale. By default, we have 1 to 100, but you can always change it. For example, 1 to 50, you can see we get to see more detail within the wall, and the text gets smaller because the scale has been changed. But let's go back to 1 to 100. It's where we are going to work by default. And the rest of the things, we shall be talking them as the need arises. So that's a quick overview of the Archicad interface. So let's talk about how you can navigate around the software. And first, I'd like to mention that you may need a mouse in order to be able to navigate quite easily. So if I zoom out, you can see by using the scroll wheel, I can zoom in and then zoom out using wheel up and wheel down. And I have a shortcut here so you can be able to see exactly what I'm doing. And then next, in case you wanted to zoom into a particular section, we have a quick options bar along the bottom here. So you can be able to click, for example, here and create like a section here, and Archicad can actually take you to that place. And if I zoom out as well, you can see we go back. So if I go previous zoom, it will take me to that. Go next zoom, we go back to where I had zoomed out to. If you hold down the middle mouse button, you can click and take yourself to the next part of this drawing. If I do hold down middle mouse button, I can be able to do what is called panning. Yeah, if I zoom into this section and I pan across by holding that middle mouse button like that. And of course, make sure that if you double tap that middle mouse button, it will fit to page or this icon right here. For example, if I'm here, I can click on fit to page and it will bring everything to page. That will be very helpful in case I am somewhere that I don't even know where the work is. For example, this is now empty, but if I click here on fit to screen, fit to window, you can see that it gets fit to that, or double tap the middle mouse button and it's the same thing. And to navigate around different views, we have these tabs here which take you to the different areas. If I click like here on this tab, you can see that there it displays all the different views that we have. For example, let's go to 3D and you can easily see there, and the same things still work. If I wheel up, I zoom in. If I wheel down, I zoom out. And then in order to orbit, we have an icon here for orbit. If you click that, it enables you to go into orbit mode and you can be able to do that. Alternatively, you press O, you can be able to go through the same orbit mode in order to go around, for example, and let's look at what's happening behind here. Easy. Okay, so that's how you can easily navigate. And of course, the pan still works also in 3D in case you wanted to pan across this view. And if you have played games before, you have this guy here, this small icon here that can take you to the game mode, which has WASD keys to help you navigate. If I click here in 3D Explore, you can see that now it turns into a game mode. I can press W to go forward, and S to go backward, and D to go sideways, and A to go the opposite side. And of course, I can do multiple, operation at the same time in order to, for example, enter into somewhere here, like that, quite simply. All right, so that's a quick way to get you up to speed with how to navigate in Archicad. All right, so let's start from a blank Archicad file. And in order to make sure that all of us are on the same page, we're going to go to options, we go work environment, and let's apply a profile. In this case, we're going to apply architectural profile 25, and this should reset everything such that we are all on the same page, something like that. And one more thing that we need to do is to expand this such that we are able to see the names of these things. So if I click on this edge, we should be able to move this across, and now you can see the names of these elements which are here. So in this video, we're going to try and make the outline of the building that we're going to create. So let's go ahead and select the polyline, and we will go ahead and draw the shape of it, which is going to be 13 meters by 19 meters. If you're using the imperial system instead of the metric system, you might want to go to options and go preferences and go to working units. In there, you can choose to use the imperial system, but in this case, I'll be using millimeters. So I'll say okay, and I will use this polyline. Now with this selected, you can see that in the info box, we have 3 methods of construction. The very first method is for creating shapes across by just clicking on every edge. The next method is for creating the boxes just easily by creating rectangles in here. And the third method is for drawing angular shapes which are parallel, which are still rectangles. And that's what we're going to use on this thing. So let's go ahead and have this selected, the polyline selected, and go ahead and select the third method of construction, and I will draw from the first point and hold down shift to keep it horizontal, and let's click D in order to add in distance, and in this case it's going to be 13 meters by 9.5. So that's the shape we are looking for. And if we wanted to center it within this box which is here, we can move it around. Now, to move anything in Archicad, you might want to have it selected and say right click and say move and drag, and you can see the shortcut right there. So I'm going to leave a PDF which contains shortcuts below in the description, such that you can be able to familiarize yourself with shortcuts, because they make your life so much easier. So drag, and I'm going to drag this middle part. So when you hover over here, you should be able to see this middle part, and holding down shift keeps it horizontal, and you can be able to align that here. And in the same manner, if you wanted to align vertically, you can right click, go move, and say drag. And with this, you can click this edge and align it on this one here, holding down shift and click, and now you can see that this is apparently in the middle of these views. All right, so now we want to be able to demarcate this thing. So let me make it red so you can see it. So I'm going to have it selected. I go here on the pen color and just make it red so that it pops out. So let's go ahead and create some quadrants, some divisions within this rectangle. And for that, we just pick a line under document. And then let's just draw here. So I'm going to draw just like so, and I will divide this just like so. So in that case, we have Studio 1, Studio 2, 3, 4 as the 4 quadrants. Let me make this reach. It had not reached. Okay, great. So now we want to be able to demarcate other spaces which are within these 4 spaces. For example, we are going to create here a washroom, and as well in these 2. So for that, let's pick this one, and in order to pick it, there's a tool for that, which is a pickup parameters. So if you click this on the standard toolbar and come and click on this line, you should be able to pick it. And once you do that, you can now draw with that red line. So this washroom is going to be 1.5 by 3 meters. All right, so that's what it's going to look like. And in order not to continue drawing, you can drag a copy to this side. So with it selected, we can right click and say move and drag a copy, which is Ctrl+Shift+D right there. And then we can be able to get this corner and take it to this other side. And as well, we select these 2 and drag a copy by right clicking, move, drag a copy, and take these to the top there. So now we have demarcated where the washrooms are going to be located, and right in the middle we need stairs that take us to the first floor, because we have a ground floor, first floor. So let's demarcate where the stairs are going to be. So for that, I'm going to just take this and offset it. So let's offset it by a meter. So like we saw the shortcut, I'm going to use it, Ctrl+Shift+D, in order to offset this one by 1 meter on the left. And then you can mirror a copy now, Ctrl+Shift+M, to mirror this copy across here, or just dragging a copy, but this time on the opposite side. So if we say this one and drag a copy and say by 1 meter, it is the same thing, because we just need to create this line and that line 1 meter away, 1 meter away. Great. So let's create a space where the staircase is going to be, because people are going to enter from here and disperse to different rooms and take the stairs which are going to be here. So let's drag a copy. Let's pick up this parameter, which you can do by holding down Alt and clicking this line, or going to this icon here, which is the pickup parameter. And then once you click this, it's been picked. You can see it's being selected. And then you can go ahead and draw this shape, which is going to be that size of 2 meters by 3.4. And that's where our stairs are going to be. Finally, let's demarcate where the doors are going to be. So let's pick up this one and go ahead and create 3 meters here, 3 meters by a meter, in order to demarcate the entrance area here. And now we can drag a copy, Ctrl+Shift+D to drag this to somewhere here. And now we have ourselves an outline. So we expect to have a door here to enter this room, a door here to enter this room, and then people to enter from here and disperse to these other rooms which are on this other side, and to take the stairs as well to the same arrangement which is going to be on the first floor. Now, right now it's still hypothetical, but you can still, hopefully you can get a picture and a sense of where we're heading with this. Welcome back. So in this video, we're going to draw the walls, and for that we will have to pick wall tool here and be able to draw. And within the wall settings, if you go click on this icon right here, you should be able to see some of these wall settings which are here. So we have 3 methods of walls that are drawn here in Archicad. We have the first one, which is the simple one where you just choose one material. We have the second one, which is the composite one, which is a combination of other walls. And this is nice if you're trying to do things like working drawings and you want to put multiple layers, because in real life, when we draw a wall, it can be block work that is plastered on either side. And then finally, we have this one here where you can draw a custom shape and save it and use it as a custom wall profile. In this case, we're going to use a simple one for now. In case we proceed to make working drawings, we might come back and use some composites or something like that. So let's use a wall which is going to be 200 millimeters thick, and then we will go ahead. So let's make it a brick structure, and under here model is what it's going to look like. We're going to make it stucco white rough. So let's look for that in here, stucco white rough. And once I click on this element here, all of them turn to stucco white rough. Just to keep it simple, we're going to make all of it white. And then I say okay, and now we can go ahead and draw. But before we draw, we need to understand the different methods we can draw this wall from. So if you can see here, we have a wall, a single wall here. Then you can see once we click on this arrow, we are presented with other options, which include polygonal method of construction, which include also if you want to draw a complete box, and then as well the method which can be an angular rectangle. And in this case, I think this works just fine. So we can go ahead and draw something like this. So you can see that the wall is being formed on the inside, but sometimes it can be formed on the outside depending on where this is. If I click on this icon here, you will see that the wall has been formed on the outside, but for this case we want it on the inside. So let's switch here such that we take this wall on the inside, and once we click, you can see that has been formed. So we have our very first wall. If you wanted to look at how it looks like, if we go to 3D, you should be able to see this, which is kind of nice. Now there's this phenomenon which is not so cool, because you can see that there's a jagged lines here. In order to get rid of it, we need to go to options and go work environment, and then we say advanced redraw options. This is just an advanced option that we need to change in order to have the cleaner lines which are not jagged. here, and when we say enable 3D anti-aliasing such that this model is going to be clean, we say okay, and it doesn't work straight away, so you can see that the lines have not been made straight, but we just need to close that 3D window and then open it again. So I'm going to do that by clicking here on 3D perspective within the project map. You remember we talked about the project map, and once you scroll down here we have 3D, and once you click on the 3D perspective you should be able to go back, and this time you can see that these are much better lines than before because they are much cleaner. Great. Now let's go back here in 2D and draw our walls in there. So we will pick the wall tool, and this time we do not need a box, we need a simple polygonal method. So we'll choose that and then go ahead and draw these in, and this time we need this wall to be on the center. So once you click on this icon you can choose the center, and you can see that now the wall has been drawn on the center line, and that has been created like so. And then let's go ahead and draw this like so. Double click to finish. Make sure you double click to finish. I think I left in some wall here, and because we chose the polygonal method, you can see these have been identified as one element. Now in order to be able to edit them, you might want to click on this icon here, which is ungroup, for ungrouping elements temporarily. So once you click that, now you should be able to select elements independently, and I'm going to delete this which I accidentally created, and I'll go ahead and I'll pick this wall and draw this polygonal method of construction such that it's this like so. And then we also want to continue this wall all the way to this other side, so we make that, we double click to finish and create this one as well, and we go ahead and put in the walls essentially in the elements that we created, and this one as well here, and on the left side as well like so, and double click to finish. And the line that we do not want to draw a wall in is this center line here, because that doesn't even make sense. Let's just delete it so it doesn't confuse you, because then actually we do not need this wall here because we're going to have a staircase in this place, so we can delete this one and we just have only these. So because we're going to have an entrance to this side and an entrance to this other side, and if you wanted you can also delete the one which is here, this wall which is in between. And in order to do that you can hold down Control in order to click. You can see that the cursor changes to a scissor, and once we click it removes that wall which has been connecting there like so. And the same is true if we wanted to get rid of this one here, because people are going to be passing here, so you can say Control click in order to get rid of that wall. It's very easy. And once we go to 3D you should be able to see what this thing actually looks like. Pretty awesome, isn't it? But we need a wall as well for this going on the inside, so we need a wall which is going to be on this other side. So with the wall tool selected we can just create a simple wall here, because we need the door to be somewhere there, because we have some steps in here. Let's demarcate them because we're going to put in those slabs in the next video. So let's just now demarcate where those steps are going to be. In this case we're going to have here about 300 and another step here and a final step, and then we can select this one as well, these lines, and bring them in here and you can see that we can't stretch them. Let's just stretch them all the way to the end, like so, one by one, and then we bring a copy to here. So we have a few steps where you enter in here, a few steps to enter here, and a few steps to enter in this one as well. And of course we need a stair in this area. But finally, let's just put some walls on this other side, which are nice features to have, and these walls are going to be much thicker than the ones we have. So let's select this wall tool here, and we need to make them 300 millimeters thick. So if I scroll here, I can be able to see that wall thickness and make that 300, and then I go ahead and draw that 300. But remember, we chose something like 1 meter. Yes, there. So I'm going to do that, but of course we need to change the area from which it is drawn. So here, once we go here, we can select outside. It's actually the other one, which is on the inside. So you can see that that's the editing line, the blue line, and depending on where you put the wall, it will show here in 3D. So let's here in the floor plan, let's make a copy here and then flip again this one to the on the outside, such that that wall goes on this other side. And as well, we can have a copy in this area, and then we have another copy in this area. So let me mirror that, or change to the outside, and that wall should be like so. Awesome, right? So let's head over to the next lesson, where we will put in the floor slabs. Before we can have a floor slab for this house, we want to create the story settings. So in order to set up our stories, we might want to go to the project map, and in here we want to select we want to right click on any of these stories, and we go to story settings. So this is where we get story settings from. So currently we have a ground floor which is 3 meters high, and story 1, which we can rename to be first floor, and this second story, which is going to be our terrace or roof. I think we will just have a terrace there, and below that we will can insert below here. If you click on insert below, we will have something here called street level, because we have some street level. And how high is going to be the street level? I think only 600, because we have only 3 steps. Yes, so 600 will be enough. That will be 3 steps going to the ground floor level, which is at 0. And then we have the first floor, the third floor. In case we wanted to add something above, for example, we can say insert above and say perhaps roof plan. Let me put here roof plan, yeah, because we have a terrace, and then perhaps you can have a roof up there. All right, so that's a simple way of setting up your stories. And now we can select the ground floor and say okay, such that we are on the ground floor. And you can see that if we double click, we are taken to the street level, we are taken to the first floor, terrace, and roof plan. Now, for the purposes of mentioning, if you are coming from something like AutoCAD, here within Archicad, it's better for us to use, the different floors in order to draw the elements. Instead of drawing everything on one sheet of paper, it is recommended that we draw each plan in its respective floor area. So for example, here we have the ground floor, and right now let's start to draw the floor slabs. And for that, we just have a slab tool here, and like we did for the wall tool, if we go to settings by clicking on this icon here, we get this pet palette, which takes us to a dialog box, which takes us to different elements here. You can see the first option is the simple layout, which has one material and stuff like that. And then we have this other element, which is a composite element that you can set up with different layers added and stacked up on top of each other. So for now, we will just pick a simple one, and we'll make a simple slab of, I think slabs are about 250 high. And then we can go ahead, and the other thing we can change is the model display. We can just change the outline here such that it's stucco white at the extreme end, and you'll see in a moment why. Let's go stucco white rough, and we can go ahead and draw. So like we saw before, we have three methods of construction. The first one is polygonal, where you just draw the slab like the way we did before. You can see that now it's been drawn. Or we can draw rectangle, and as well we can draw a skewed rectangle, something like that. So let's use any of those. I'm going to pick, let me select the slab again, and I'm going to pick this middle one such that I'm able to draw something like that. And you can see that that is selected. And remember, if I have the arrow selected, it's easy. The cursor turns into a magnet, and I'm able to select this slab, which is here. If this magnet is turned off, then it will be a little way harder to select that slab, which is here. Even if I hold down shift, it's almost impossible to select it. So be sure to have the magnet selected such that you can be able to select the slab like so. Simple. Great. So let's remove this shape here, because we want this area to be street level, like we said. So let's click on the edge. Once you click on the edge, you get a pet palette where you have these options, and we can pick subtract from polygon and be able to subtract this polygon right there. And then we can put in those small steps with just the slab tool and draw simple slabs here, just simple rectangles here. I'm going to draw the first one, the second one, and the third one. Now these three change their height as well. So the very first one needs to sit. We can change the reference to this line here. Let's go to the settings so you can be able to see it by Control T, which is the easy way to go to these settings. We can change the reference plane to this side. If we have the reference plane below, whatever we demarcate here as the height from the ground is what is going to be formed. So we can say this should be -600. It should start from -600, and it will be 150 high. Great. And that will be our first slab. So the next slab is this one here. So if we go to settings, we want to make sure that it's as well is starting from 0, but this time is starting from the bottom, and it should be -600 as well. But then this time this should be 150 plus another 150, which makes it 300 millimeters high. Great. And the final slab, with it selected, we can go to the settings and make this one taller. So let's make this one start from the bottom, but then this one is going to be -600, which is the height, the street height, and then this one will be 450 because it's 150 times 3. Okay, so let's just look at what that looks like here in 3D such that you understand exactly what I'm talking about. Yes, we have something pretty cool going on here. We have this step this one and this one like so, and therefore we will go ahead and have these 3 slabs, and you can group them in order to have them easy to select. In order to group them, you can go edit, grouping, and you can say group elements, or this shortcut here which is Ctrl+G that I like to use. So now they have been grouped and they can easily be taken to another place, like holding down by, if we make a copy of this, we can have these steps also in this other area. And remember, we also need a copy of this to this space which is there. Now, in order to have all of these grouped elements selected, you can select them one by one, or we can unsuspend group, because we suspended grouping before. So once we unsuspend group, all of them will be selected such that we can be able to move them to this area here. But I think the best way is for us to do it in floor plan, such that you can be able to see what's happening here. You can see that then we have this here, and it needs to stop here. And because we have these elements grouped, it's not possible to edit them. So you want to make sure that we suspend group again. We suspend. So if you cannot be able to edit your floor slabs, be sure that the grouping is suspended, such that it's easy for you to draw those elements. By coloring these edges white, we can be able to achieve some nice colors. If you have, so you can see we have a floor slab here, and we have these steps in here. Now, in order to cover up these areas here, we can go ahead and draw the walls that are supposed to be on street level. So once we go on the ground floor, you can see that we need to be able to trace what's above. Now, in order to trace, we have an icon here which is for tracing, and once you turn it on, you should be able to see elements which are below. Now, that would work if we were on the first floor. For example, if we got the first floor, you can see that now we are tracing what's on the ground floor. But now that we are on the street level, which is below, we might want to go in this drop down here and choose our reference to be above, because then our ground floor is above, and now we can be able to see. So let's now pick the wall tool, for example. Remember, we can pick a parameter and pick the wall, and then we can be able to draw the wall across. So let's see if we are actually able to do that. So let's choose this other boxy thing shape, and now we have drawn walls across our street here. And as well, let's not forget to draw the 300mm thick walls. So I'm going to make my walls 300 and make it here. Make sure that I change from this to the single wall, and I can see that this has been drawn on the wrong side, so I will flip that here. So there we are. Make a copy and put it here, flip that such that we still have this on the same line, and then we can make a copy here and a copy there, such that we close the gaps that were created because of the street view. So now if we go to 3D, we should have those gaps closed off with walls. Okay, which is very, very amazing. Unlike this wall, which we need to get rid of. So in order to get rid of it, we can edit by having it selected, and we have something here called split. So once you click on that, you can be able to split this wall. And in order to know what to do with it, once you click on the split wall, we have a status bar at the bottom which tells you click an arc or edge or draw a line to split the selected elements. So that's how it works. So once you have that clicked, you can go ahead and draw, click an edge, and then you can be able to split that. Let's split again. Click on this edge, and we can delete this wall. So now we have something much cleaner. So welcome back. So today we want to add some openings to these doors, and in order to do that we want to go to the ground floor. So I'm going to do that by double clicking on the ground floor so that we can start straight away. So we have an entrance in this area and this one as well. So for that we'll go to the door tool here, and once we double click we get to this dialog box, and we want to select the Archicad double door with transom because we want to put some transom above. So first of all we want to go to preview and positioning, and we want to take this to be 2.4 high, which is it already is, but we want it to be also 2.4 in width. And then again we want to make sure that it starts from the ground. So currently it's 100 from the ground, so we will say 0 such that the ground level is at 0. And then as well the door lift under door settings, we can change the door lift to be style 40, and as well we can change the handle to be one of these modern ones. This looks kind of cute, we can go with that. So once you click on this drop down here, we can go to transom and change that transom such that it's a vent sash, and we can produce seed as well to fixtures and fittings, and get rid of casings because I do not think I need some casings in here, and that will be it for now. So once we say okay, I can come in here and place the door in there. You can see that the first click is going to show us where the light is coming from, and this is where the light is coming from, and it can open to the outside like so. We will draw it as well on this other side. If we go to 3D, you can already see what those doors look like. Now that I see it, I think we should make them metal. So with them selected, and then if we go to settings, we select model attributes, which is the one which is here, and we can be able to change to uniform door surface, which is going to make everything metal. So we will choose metal aluminium, and you can see that everything has been turned into metal aluminium except for the louvers, which I too desire them to be metal. So press M and I can see that there's metal aluminium here, and say okay, and everything turns into metal aluminium. Great. And then we need a door here, much smaller one. Okay, and in order for us to do it, it's also going to be a double door. We can measure here and see it's going to be about 1.8. So in order to place it in, we need to go to settings. I can pick this one as well, that window, that door. It's essentially going to be the same door. So all I need to change is 1.8 here, We say okay, and that is going to be added in here, so we can place that door right there. All right, and now we can place this much smaller doors, which we can do by going to the door settings, and this time we look for a single door but with transom, which I believe is this one right here, single door with transom. And once we have that selected, we make sure that it's 2.4 by 900, and we go down in here in the settings and we do the same thing by looking for style 40. There you are. And we change the handle to something like this, handle 3, and then we go at the transom, we make it vent sash transom. Then we go to model attributes to make this, we check this to make it uniform materials. Press M and metal has been selected, and then M as well for the louvers. Okay, and that's all for this one. So we can go ahead and decide how we're going to place it. And I think it's important that it is placed facing on the inside, and then here we can place it, and the light is coming from the outside but facing on the inside. So those are the two doors, but we also need to put in doors here, 1 2 3 4, entering the washrooms. So in order to do that, we will change only 2 parameters on this existing door. So under preview and positioning, we change this to 800, and then we'll go under hinge door settings. We will go all the way to the door leaf and change it from style 40 to something like style 55. I think that's going to work. We will use that here, here, there, and there. So for the windows, we want to use the window tool, which is right here. So let's pick a window, the basic window, and we are going to do a much bigger window on this side and smaller windows on this other side. Okay, right, so let's pick a double window and we will put a transom on it. And before we do that, let's go to preview and positioning and make sure that we have 1.5 width, and it's going to be 2 meters high. And since it's 2 meters, we need it to start from around 400 from the ground. Okay, so we have that window, and under basic settings, we want to go here and scroll up such that we go to shape and enable upper transom, because we're going to have an upper transom. Since it is 2 meters high, we want this to be 1.6, such that only 400 is for that transom. Okay, and then we can change that transom to be a vent sash, yeah, in the sash options. Okay, and then as well, we need to change the model attributes such that it's metal aluminium. Okay, you can see only one has been changed, but when we click on this thing, it assigns those materials to everything. And we want as well this louver to be metal. Okay, I'll say okay, and then that window, we can place it in here, and you can see it has been placed in there, but we need some reveal, some window reveal, so we can add that here. I think about 120, such that it's on the inside. Maybe that's a bit too much. Let's use 100, such that, yeah, much better. And it's also place the same window here. Great. And let's place a much smaller window here. So if we go to the settings, we'll use this double sash window, and this time we need it to be 1.5 and it's going to be 1.2 high, and since it's 1.2 we need it here to be 1.2. The distance from the ground to the window itself, because we are going to have some kitchen equipment in this area, so the 1.2 is a necessary gap from the ground. And like we did before, we can go here in the settings. This time we do not need the sash, the vent sash, so all we have to do is change the way it's going to appear in 3D. So let's make all of it uniform and make it metal, and that will be enough. And then let's place that in here. Okay, we have that window, and like we did before, we need to reveal some of it, so let's put like 1 meter for reveal. I think I put in a very wrong dimension. Let me select that again and put in 100, not 1 meter. That was a mistake. So let's just pick that wall and window and place it in here. So we have ourselves those windows, and then as well we need a small window which is going to be for these ones, but then we have a kitchen here, so we have the same window here, and as well we have another window which is going to be here. To make sure to select that and move it, drag it to this point here. Okay, so let's add in the final window, which is the small windows that are going to be on the washrooms. Okay, so in the settings we want to choose this small window, and all we have to change are the dimensions here. So let's make it tiny, 600, and we make it 1.2 as well high, and that means that this 1.2 is fine for us. And then we change how it looks like in 3D by enabling uniform material and putting in metal aluminium. Okay, and then we can place this window here, and as well reveal 100 here, and pick the same window and place it in here. Okay, and we will place here, and finally there as well. So let's inspect what that looks like here in 3D. So you can see we have ourselves those nice windows there. We have one for the washroom here. All right, you can see that the vent sash here, we placed it in the wrong side of the window, and I feel like this window is a bit too small, so we can make it like 1.8, can be a little larger. Great. But in the settings we want to go back to the sash options. Okay, so let's go here, sash options, and change this back to no grid, but make sure that in the drop down we select the transom, and it's the transom that we shall change to vent sash, and that's more like how I imagined it. Okay, great. So those are the windows and doors. And just before we leave, we could get rid of these casings as well. So we can select even here in 3D by holding down Shift and clicking on these doors, such that we get rid of those casings, these metal casings, which you can do by going to settings, and in the drop down you look for where we have fixtures and fittings and get rid of the inside and outside casings. just so that it looks neat in the wall there. All right. Now let's add some furniture to see how these spaces actually work. Let's go back here in the ground floor and we try to lay out these spaces, okay? So for that, we'll go to the objects tool, which is right here. And once you double click on that, you should be able to get this dialog box, which displays the furniture which is available in the native Archicad library, okay? So in this case, for example, there's this nice chair. I like it. But in case you want something else, you can type it in there and it will be presented to you. For example, I'd like a bed. Let's begin with a bed. Once you type it in there, Archicad is going to search for it, and these are the beds which are available. And I need a double bed, but the one which has a side table, a side bed table to it, and I am likely going to need only one of these side tables. So in the layout, I need to make sure that I change the night table such that it's on one side, okay? That's all will be for this one, and make sure that it's on the ground. So I'll put in 0 at the height from the ground, and once I place it in, it should be at 0. So let's escape that such that I'm able to select it, and I will place it in here. So it's quite simple. It's just selecting and placing furniture in there and just trying to place it where it is due. And below that, I think I need some piece of furniture here. And so we'll go back and get something. Let's look at the sofas that are present. I need a small one. And this looks nice. I think it's gonna work. Say okay. And we'll just place it in there, making sure that it's at 0, that's at the ground, such that it doesn't float in the air, okay? And then we have that at 90, and do that. I think you need to be aware of how to actually rotate, and let me undo that such that you can see how you actually rotate. So with it selected, you want to right click and go move, and then you have something here called rotate, which has a shortcut here, Control E. So once you have clicked that, you want to make a horizontal line, which is this one here, along one of the sides of this furniture, and then the next time you click, it will be rotated to that place. It's not that hard. You can try it. It's nice. Next is another piece of furniture that we may need in this place, which is going to be, I think, a coffee table. Right, for this place, it's quite a tiny space, but I think some of this stuff looks good. I think I like this coffee table, so we can place it here just next to this table. And then we have a kitchen area here which needs some of this furniture, so let's go back. Look for a cooktop, and I think this will do. You can go through the tops, and maybe you want something specific like type 8 here on the cooktop, and that's okay for now. We can place it in here, and be sure to rotate it the right way. These are knobs that are controllable, so I imagine this would be the back. So in order to rotate it, like I said before, move, we say rotate, and we rotate upon each side such that this is 90 degrees, and then we can drag it into place by move, drag, and take one of these corners and put it there. So we have ourselves a cooktop. And then we also need a corner cabinet. So we will go ahead and look for a kitchen cabinet. Okay, so these beginning ones, I can see we have a corner one here, and we can go ahead and place it in this corner, and you can see it's been placed the other way wrong, so we can mirror it. And in order to mirror, we have to select that furniture, right click, move, mirror, Ctrl M. Okay, and then we are able to mirror that. Okay, and now we need this side to be a little smaller, so we will take this down, hold down shift to keep it in line in the vertical sense. And let me first place it by clicking on the outside, and such that we can see where it's supposed to be. So now when we bring it, we know that it's supposed to be at that place. Okay, and we need one here, which is just going to be a straight cabinet, which is this one here, a base block cabinet. We place it in, and like the ones before, it needs to be mirrored because this is the back. Ctrl M to mirror. So I mirror that, put it right there, and stretch it across such that it aligns with this piece of furniture. So now we have ourselves a kitchen layout here, and I feel like we need a sink in this area, so we will do that by going to settings and making this cabinet a sink. So let's go choose a cabinet and let's make it into a sink here. If we go to the drop down, you can see that we need to make here a sink, and you can choose any type that you like. I think style 9 would be just fine. I say okay, and it has been formed right there, although it looks way too small, so we can stretch it a little bit. And I think that style doesn't quite look nice. Let's see if we have any other style in here. Style 3 actually, because that was way too big, so we need them to be the same size. The size, yes, like so. And we can make this a little smaller, and as well, if we wanted, we could drag this across such that it's more on the side of the window, such that the sunlight goes through onto that sink area. And as well, we need some furniture within here, within the washroom, which is just going to be a WC. So let's type in WC for closet or water closet, and you can choose the type that you like. I just want to have a default one in here, and that's simply done. And next you can add in a shower head. So let's put in shower, and it's best we removed WC. And these are the showers that we have, and this shower head is going to work. So we'll go ahead and place it in here, and with it selected, we can rotate it. Right click, move, rotate. Okay, and we have it. There we have it. Okay, and as well, we can have a top cabinet if we wanted something here on the top cabinet area. So we need to get a wall cabinet, one of these which hang on top. Okay, and we can place it in here, And yes, so it's supposed to be rotated, so say Ctrl E and rotate it here and move this cabinet such that it stretches, because here we're going to have a hood on top of this place, so we may not need to have that there. So we can move this such that the window is not in the cabinet itself, so we have some storage above. Let's look at what those look like in 3D. And my guess is that this furniture has been placed in this room. So I press auto orbit such that I'm able to navigate and see what's happening here. Okay, so we have some furniture here. We have kitchen cabinets, and as well it needs a tap on top. So this sink, you can put a tap. If we click here, we should be able to see tap just next, and you can add one here just that there's a tap there, and there is a sink area there, and then we can see that we have a cooker, and then we have some furniture, a bed, and a shower head together with a WC in this place. And that's a simple layout which we can duplicate to the rest of these rooms. Okay, so if we have the object selected, we can say Ctrl A, which selects all the objects that we have in this scene, because currently we have only these as the objects, and you can see that's an easy way to select elements which are similar. And now we can make a copy and put it in there. For example, let's right click, move, drag a copy, and we will move this to right there. And as well, we need to mirror a copy to this other side. And before we do that, we might want to get this furniture out of the way. So I imagine for this room, we are going to rotate this furniture such that it is usable across against this wall. Okay, and then this coffee table can be somewhere. All right, and it probably could be smaller. All right, so let's select all those furniture and mirror this time. Ctrl Shift M in order to mirror a copy, and we mirror from the center here, and the furniture which was here is now mirrored to this other side. Pretty cool. Okay, which is awesome. Now I like to have some pillows on these beds, so we can select them and go to the settings, and we can enable pillow, which we can do on bed head here. Settings, we can just have here pillow checked, and they will be added in there. And as well, the final piece of furniture we can add would be a wardrobe, okay, such that these guys have where to store their clothes by looking for wardrobe. And we have a few designs here, and let's use this one now, and let's just keep the defaults, and we'll place it in there. I'm going to drag it and put it against this wall. So Ctrl E to rotate and have it against this wall like so. Okay, and in the settings you can actually change how it's being represented. If we go to the settings and look at the symbolic 2D representation, you can change from by model view options, which we'll talk about later, but you can make it symbolic such that, you know, it's one of those things, yeah, like so, if that's what you like to see. And we will need a copy to be here, and then these two should be mirrored onto the opposite side, which is really awesome. Alright, welcome back. So today we are going to do the first floor for this drawing. So on the ground floor, you can see we have all these elements, and we want to do the same thing on the first floor. So let's just copy everything and put it on the first floor. And in order to do that, you can, with the selection tool selected, you can select everything like so and copy it and paste it on the first floor. But what I like to do is to remove the lines because I do not need them, or we can delete them later. So let's just copy, Control C in order to copy, and then paste this stuff on the first floor, everything. Okay, so let's go first floor and Control V, and it should be pasted on the first floor, because what now just happened is that whatever was on the ground floor has moved to the first floor, and we have a few things that we might need to delete. Like you can see, we do not need some of these elements, and we need to make some changes, obviously. So what we can do is select everything here and delete. We do not need all these lines, and these ones as well, and these ones also as well. Okay, and for the front, we do not have these two windows, so I'm going to select them and delete them. And this feature wall actually moves to the end, so we move that by dragging, Control D to drag, and I'll put it on the extreme end right there. And this one as well, I'll select it, Control D to drag, and move it to the extreme end somewhere here. Great. So now we have ourselves an area for a balcony. So now we can expand this, if we so wish, to the end. So I'm going to move this to the extreme end, and move this one as well to the extreme end. And as well, this one should move to somewhere here, because we have a balcony right there. Okay, and for this floor, we do not have this windows door here. It's not going to be there. It will be at the extreme end. Let's actually keep it, but we will put it at the extreme end. So I'm going to drag it and make sure that it's right there, because we will make it into just a door that just opens to light up this corridor here. Okay, great. So now we have ourselves an arrangement on the first floor. One thing that I need to change is these doors. So they need to be bigger, because currently it's 2.4. So I'm going to go to the settings and make it bigger. But by making it bigger, I will have to make three pens. So we might need to choose another kind of door. First of all, let's make this big. Let's make it 3 meters. And after that, we want to go down and look for the side light, the one with the side light. So Control Alt, and then I click. So this will enable us, when you Control Alt left click, enables us to have the same parameters that are not changed, instead of going all over to change these things. Once we Control Alt click, we have just what we need, but in the same with everything set already. So now let's head over to this side shape where we can actually make this a little bigger, because it's a side light and it needs to be, I think, 1 meter or so. And we look at how these have been affected, because I can see that now the leaves have become 900. Maybe this could be like 950, and such that it's these the door leaves are the ones which are much bigger. All right, so now we say okay, and there we should have those doors transformed into double doors with side light, and we might need to come in and position them correctly. So we drag this to the side, making sure that perhaps this touches right there, and then we need to mirror this such that the side light is on this other side. So Ctrl M to mirror, and then this door, we move this side light such that the side light touches the beginning of this cabinet. Okay, and now that's really looking good. And then we need to get rid of this furniture, because we need a way to access these rooms in here. Okay, so we will need a normal door like the ones which are already existing. So we'll pick this door and move it here, and pick this one as well and move it to this other side, because when someone reaches the first floor, they aren't going to go all the way out in order to enter the house. And now that I look at it, I think sliding doors would be a better option. So let's select these doors. We got settings, and we're going to make them into sliding doors by looking at the category of sliding. So under here, sliding, we choose the same door that we have, but within sliding, which is right here. I can see we have a sliding door that has a transom and the side light. Okay, so let's say Ctrl Alt click, and that should pick up everything the way it is, and that is looking good. Although, like we did before, we may need to make these ones 950 like we did before. 950, and this one 950, and as well they need to be mirrored like we did before. Ctrl M to mirror, and have that mirrored to have exactly what we need, such that the cabinets are not in the way as someone tries to approach the outside. Okay, that is looking awesome. All right, so let's look at what that looks like here in 3D. And just by those few steps, we have ourselves something similar to what we saw at the beginning of the video. Okay, so we have ourselves this kind of pattern, and you can see that we have those shelves within the side light somewhere here, which is totally fine. Okay, though now we want to change this into a folding door. I think let's change it into a folding door. So let's go and look for folding doors. Okay, so we will pick this. Let's pick this one, which is this one here, but Ctrl Alt click to click there, and then we choose a style like this one. I think the one that I use, whichever you choose, it depends on how it will look like here. And I think we can make it only 2 pens because those are multiple. Number of leaves, let's use only 2 leaves. And that will work for now for that one. And we will come in and change it to what we want to see. Now we need a staircase in this place, so we will have to get rid of some of these slabs to create a way for a staircase. And I think as well we may need to step this a little bit back such that we can have a railing in this place. All right, let's do that. On the floor plan, we will create a staircase starting from the ground floor that goes all the way to the top, and we will do that by using the stair tool, which is here in Archicad. And we will use the default things. We are not going to change a thing, and making sure that we change the width of the stair. So let's scroll up here and look at the width here of the stair, and we will make it 900, yeah, as small as it can be. So let's start from right here to place the staircase, and all we have to do is to make a journey all the way to the end here. And this prompts us to create this stair space that runs all the way to this line again. We click, and as well here we do the final thing. And then once we have placed it like so, we may need to clean it up a little bit. For example, here on this line we do not need any step, so to clear that we click on this edge, and then we go in here in the properties here and decide that that is a landing that has no step on it, so we don't have any flight. Okay, so now that's much better. And then we also need this leg to be balanced by this other one, so we might need to make this expand. But before we expand it, we may need to go to settings and make sure that we have a friendly riser, because I believe right now it's too steep, 200, which is too high. So we choose the minimum, which is 150, and see where that gets us. If that 150 makes the stair too big, I think the stair is too huge, maybe we can make some compromise and choose something like 170 max as the maximum riser. So let's use 167, okay, and see whether we can work with that. So once we choose that, we now have the liberty to come in and reduce this such that it aligns up somehow. And you can see it's still too much, and perhaps 176 should do the trick for us. And now we click on the nodes to adjust, and I think this is way better. So much better. Let's balance it out just a little bit, spread it here by 100 such that it fits perfectly in there, which is kind of great. So once we go to the first floor, like we said before, we need to select this slab and get rid of this portion of the slab such that this stair can pass. So we will take a negative here and be sure to create this box that allows the stair to show up Okay, so once in 3D, yeah, we have that space there, which allows the stair to run across like so, right? So now let's put some railing both on this rail, this staircase, and here. All right, so the first kind of railing, we will just use the default rail. So let's say okay, and just hold down the space bar to click on this area. You can see it's going to be formed on the inside, and I'd like it to be formed on the other side. Okay, so we change that and make sure that it's formed on this other side along the staircase. Okay, that's okay. And then next is we need to be able to create a recess on this balcony. So let's enable trace reference, and because we had already changed the reference, we might change it back by choosing below current story, such that we're able to see what's happening on the ground floor. If I turn this off, you can see it goes off. If I turn it on, you can see that now we can see what's happening on the ground floor. So now we select this slab, and we want to be able to remove just a little portion of this. For design purposes, let's remove about 100. About 100. Yeah, and that should look good. Let's just remove a small portion here. 100. All right, and let's see what that looks like in 3D. Okay. Yeah, you can see that we have some kind of recess that allows these to go through like so around this area, and then we have the railing which is happening here on this side. So now let's have some glass railing on this area which overlooks the balcony, and we'll do that by selecting the railing tool. And once we go to favorites, Archicad has already some predefined rails, so I think maybe that can work. So you can go ahead and modify as you so wish to have. For example, for me, I don't think this is important, so I'll get rid of it, which means I need to make these taller. So with it selected, I go to inner post settings and just make it only about 50 millimeters from up, such that it gets to be a little taller, and make this top railing to be thicker. Right now it's 70. Let's just make it like 75. It's 40. Let's make it 75. And what else? Let's make these a little thicker as well. They tend to be way too small. Let me make them about 35. And the posts as well, can adjust their thickness. Let me make them around 40, such that they're bigger than this horizontal member. And now this is the glass. So the glass, we can decide how far it is from this other side. I think a gap of like 15 millimeters, just the tolerance is enough for this side. From the top, I think 100 is still fine. Okay, so let's draw that. So you can do that either in 2D or 3D. So here in 3D, we can click the first point node and go ahead and click, holding down shift. We we can click on the final point by double clicking actually. Okay, so you can see it has been formed, and because it's at the extreme end, we might want to move it back to where we specified right there, because that's where it's gonna be needed most. Okay, and then we drag a copy and place it along this thing. Now you may need to go to 2D and verify whether it's in the right place, and you can see that this second one is not quite there yet, so you can delete it and just pick this and make sure that it is coming to Ctrl+Shift+D and move it to that place. It's awesome, isn't it? Let's add the third floor to this thing. All right, so we will go to the terrace, because that's going to be the terrace part, and we want to have the staircase in this place. So let's grab this staircase on the ground floor and its railing as well and paste them on the first floor, because we need them to take us to the terrace. Okay, copy, Ctrl+C, and then I will paste it on the first floor right here, just on top of this, and that will do. All right, and now we have ourselves a something that comes to the terrace right there. So with the trace enabled, make sure that you have trace enabled, and also making sure that you choose below current story, such that you are able to see on the story below. All right, so let's say that now we want to create a space in here which is for the caretaker. So let's pick a wall and begin to draw this place here. So let's use the center line in this case and be able to draw something here. And it looks like this wall is way thicker than what we need, so select it and make it 200. Okay, so let's select it, make it 200. All right, and pick it and be the one that we will use. Okay, and let's say go all the way to somewhere here to there, because we have a room at this place here, and I'll close it off from this other side. And in order to intersect these, you can select both these walls and hit intersect, which is this icon right here, intersect, and those two will be intersected. And then we can create a door that goes on the outside. So holding down Alt, we can pick the one which is on the first floor, the one which we are seeing on the terrace. Okay, so Alt left click is going to pick that door. You can see the door has been selected, and we can go ahead and put a door here that runs to the outside to have a terrace in this area. And then we need a door that enters into the caretaker's house. Okay, and in the caretaker's house, all we need is one bed, so, and that furniture. So let's just take this bed and a piece of furniture, copy that and have it on the first floor. And then make sure that we pick a slab as well on the first floor. So hold down Alt, click on this slab, and then we will put it on the first floor here. And you can see that we have it. let me take it all the way to the very end because we need the slab to run across this entire part, because we are going to have a terrace at this area, and the rest of these other parts are going to be roofed. We have a roof here and a roof on this other side. All right, and now we can open up. Let's open up this side with a window, and most probably it's going to be this one, which is on the ground floor. Let's go to the ground floor and pick this high window. This high window we used for this kitchen area. Let's pick this one by alt-clicking it, and then we go to the terrace, and we will have it here. That is going to be overlooking here to provide light into that space. And then we also need a window, a small one. I think this will work for this area. And then let's see how that looks like here in 3D. And yeah, we have ourselves something pretty cute up there. And then like you can see, we will have a terrace in this area, and then we have that window, and then we need this opening on the staircase such that we have enough light entering onto the staircase. All right, and for that we will create, so we can create one wall which runs all the way to the top, but since we have already created one wall here and another wall there, let's just create a single door window opening, and then the rest here we can put openings, empty openings. Okay, so let's go here on the ground floor and decide to put a long window. Let's pick like this one, but we will make it very tall, and it's going to be like 5 meters tall. Okay, let's make it like let's make it start from 1.5. After the landing of this one, we make it start from right there, and then we can make it like 5 meters. I don't know what that could be, and I think we keep everything else as glass. And let's say that we will have this on this place. Okay, so let's see what that will look like here in 3D. Of course, it's going to show here, and then it will disappear into these other walls. So if I select it, you can see that it's meant to go all the way to the top. Let's actually make it even taller by making it go all the way to here. All right, that's what we desire to see, but we will have to create an empty opening here and an empty opening here. So we'll do that by using this same opening. Let's just pick this opening, go to the first floor, and make sure that we make it an empty opening. If we go to settings, we have here under window, we have empty opening. Okay, so this one we can say Ctrl Alt to click, such that we have the same dimensions that we had, but we have this empty opening. And there we are, we put that empty opening there, and also on the terrace floor. Although we did not work on the heights, so we might need to do that in 3D. So you can see that we have some issues here to deal with. So let's select these empty openings and make sure they all start on the ground floor by putting in here 0. All right, they start on the 0. And after that, we make sure that this very one which is kind of hard to select. Make sure that you have the window selected and have it selected here, and you can see that it's really tall, so we can take it from the way where it is up here. I think, yes. Or we can measure, press M to measure to make sure that we know how high this is. So this is 2.4, so we can make this window 2.4 empty one, okay, such that that's what we need. And we need to go ahead and get rid of these slabs which show up on these areas. So let's go to the ground, terrace, and we'll say minus to get rid of this staircase. Go to the first floor. With this slab selected, we can expand this opening such that we get rid of that. Opening, and now we should pretty much have a window which cuts across the entire thing. All right. And I can see that it kind of flashes with this, so we can reduce this to make it like 50 such that the window comes out. Yeah, something like that. All right, that's looking cool. Although now we need this to be really tall. We need the separation to run all the way to the top there. And then we can have like 2 more divisions in here. And as well, if we wanted to get rid of these guidelines, we can change the glass to be the type, the opening type. Let's go here in Windows settings and change the opening type from side hang to fixed glass. If we change it to fixed glass, we will not have those lines in there. So fixed glass, everything. And then we need to go to sash options, and the main sash, we divide it. We can use HV grid, which is going to divide it horizontal. So the horizontal divisions are these ones, which are going to be vertical. So horizontal division is going to be only 1. And then the vertical divisions are these ones, which will make us horizontal divisions, and those can be 2. Okay, and we do the same for the second one and make into HV grid. The horizontal is going to be 1, and then the vertical divisions, or the ones which make the horizontal mullions, it's going to be 2. Okay, and then we make sure that we have a height. The width of this thing is significant. Let's make it like 50 millimeters thick, such that it is way thicker. Okay, all right, I say okay, and then we should have these disappear, and then we should have those divisions. So we can see we have only 2 divisions, which is this one and this one, but we might need to have perhaps 3. Okay, so let's change that in the settings and make sure that, let's choose 3, and go here, make this 3. And as well, I would love to get some divisions in the shape on the transom. Let's divide up that transom. It really looks not right. So let's divide up there and have some more divisions in here. And that is looking cool, don't you think? All right, that's enough for this video. Let's go into the next, where we will look at how to actually roof this thing and get done with the model. All right, so let's roof this thing. So we're going to have a roof that goes all the way to this other side and some other roof that pours to this other side. And we'll use a small pitched roof. I think about 7 degrees will be enough. So let's go to the terrace and then we put those roofs right there. So for the roof tool, we want to pick the roof directly. Here in Archicad we have a roof tool here, and this time we will choose the very first option which is presented to us, which is this simple profile. And if we wanted to see the settings, we can go to the dialog box once we click here, and you can see this is where we change the parameters from. So the very first option, which is there by default, is a composite roof, which has different materials added to them. But for this case, we're just going to take a simple one, which is this one here, and we can decide how thick it's going to be. And I will use, I think, I know 300 will be enough, because we used a wall which is 300 for the part which shows at the front, so I think 300 will be a good combination. And like I said, we will use 7 degrees of the angle, and we also need it to be vertical. We need it to be at 90 at vertical, like this, perpendicular is the word. Okay, and then as well we need to have how high it's going to be. I think 3 meters is fine, and we need to see what it's going to look like so we can enable these surfaces. So we want this to be looking like the white that we chose. I think stucco white fine is okay, and then stucco white rough is okay, and then we have this roof which is going to be gray. I think let's get asphalt gray, roof asphalt gray, which is what I love about this. So we need the roof in here, and because we have it at 3 meters high, so we might want to take it to 0 if we are drawing it on this floor. So let's take it to 0 such that it starts on the ground here. So let's draw a reference line here. And once we have drawn that line, you can see they are telling us to click for the upward pitch of the roof. So it needs to face this other side, and then we can be able to create this kind of shape. So we need it to be like so, and you can see that it covers this part pretty well. Let's go ahead and create the same on this other side. We create a line, okay, and then we specify where the roof should face, and then we draw ourselves the shape. But then after drawing this shape, we may want to get rid of this other side, so we say minus by clicking on any of the edges, and then we can go ahead and get rid of this portion. I can't quite see where the rest of the stuff are, so I'm going to sort of assume for now, and then I can go in and clean it up after I have opened up. Okay, so let's open up there and bring this all the way to there. So right now we have that roof that pours there, right there. If I select this one, it should pour down here. All right, then before we go to 3D to see what's happening, we need to also roof this space which is in between, and I will use a slab for that. So I will add the polygon, this shape here. I'm going to add all the way there. So if we go 3D, let's go to the 3D and see what just happened. We should have ourselves the two roofs. Okay, we have ourselves this roof, we have ourselves that roof, and as well we have ourselves a flat roof on top of this corridor. All right, so now we need these walls to go all the way up such that we are able to trim them according to the roof. Okay, so let's go ahead and take some of those roofs up. So we can go, for example, on the first floor and pick them, or even we can pick them from here. For example, we can pick this wall And for purposes of visibility, we can hide how this roof is represented in the floor plan. If we go to the settings, we can say that let's temporarily hide the floor plan display. Here, once you scroll down, you have what we call cover fill. If we hide that cover fill, now we should be able to see what's happening beneath, such that we make decisions on what to draw. If we pick like the wall, which is, let's pick any wall here, and we will draw it on top of this one here. Okay, but making sure that it's in the right place. And as well, we need to pick the one which is here. Okay, and then we have a bigger wall here, so we will pick that wall, the one which is beneath here, and we will draw it. Let's flip such that it faces the right direction, and let's flip this one as well to make it face the right direction. And we'll go ahead and do the same for this one, and let's do that. And it's really nice. Okay, and also we will have to draw this very roof here, because we have a roof going all the way that side, because we will be able to see what's happening here. So now we can go ahead and trim those walls to that surface. Okay, here in 3D you can see those walls are way tall, so we may need to get these and trim them to roof by clicking on this icon, which is right here, and we double click on top of this roof. So once we double click there, Archicad should trim elements to the roof like so, which is really nice, right? Let's go ahead and do the same for this side by selecting all these walls which are cut by this roof, and then we go here on trim elements to roof, or you can select the roof as well and right click and say connect, and you say trim elements to roof, and then Archicad is going to ask you whether you need to use that roof to trim, and there you have it trimmed. Okay, pretty great. We have one more to go here, and let's also inspect this other side. We have another one here to create, which is pretty simple. So let's go here on the floor plan and identify that we actually need a wall in this place right there, which means our roof should be able to cover the entirety of this place. So we can expand it by clicking on this offset edge, and there we have it. It goes all the way to that place. And as well, we need to use the same wall and create the wall which should be on top of this. So let's copy this, put it in this area, and move it all the way to the end, and do the same in this place. And let's see what that looks like in 3D so we can trim it well. All right, you can see that this stuff is going through, so we can go in there and trim elements to this roof. Double click and it will be trimmed to the roof. We select this one as well and select the element and double click such that we are able to trim element to roof. All right, now when we go here in elevation, it looks really neat. Okay, and then as well, we need a roof for this part right here. So we need a roof to be like so. Yeah, so let's go ahead and create it. So I'll pick this roof and then I'll go on the roof plan, which is the topmost floor, and I will draw that roof on here. So all I need is a line on this edge, and I specify where the roof should face, and I continue to draw that. Okay, and then we also need to have walls on this side, so I'll pick walls from the floor beneath. So let's pick like this wall, go up and be able to draw those walls. Let's pick a box here and be able to draw these, and let's change the reference to the outside. Yeah, something like that, such that the walls are directly on top. Okay, and then as well, I think we need to get rid of this one. This one is not necessary. So like I told you, we need to suspend grouping such that we are able to select this one and delete it, because this is going to be low. So in 3D, let's see what's happening. Yeah, we have an element like so, and all we have to do is select these walls and trim elements to roof like so. Double click on the roof, and that looks very, very good. So to crown up this floor, we just need to have a railing in this place. I think let's choose that glass railing and drop it in there. So let's go on the ground floor, actually the first floor. Pick this railing by alt clicking such that we pick it with all its parameters, and then we go to the roof, and not the roof but the terrace, because that railing is going to be on the terrace, and we start to draw it on the inside. Make sure it's being drawn on the inside. Okay, and also move it inward. Okay, so we can expand it to be in the middle of this wall. Let's expand it such that it's within this wall. Okay, and I think perhaps we may need to expand it such that it's way along this wall. Let's see what that looks like in 3D, so you can see what I'm talking about. All right, so you see we have something going on here, and this we may need to push it all the way to the end. So we don't have anyone diving across that space. Okay, yeah, that looks pretty convincing, and I like it. Okay, so let's head over to the next lesson where we just finish up the model by landscaping. All right, so let's get done with this modeling part of this thing. So we have a street level to put here, and also some spacing up here. So let's do that with the mesh tool, because the mesh is what creates the ground around. So let's pick a mesh, and we will draw that mesh across this design, starting from where this building starts. Let's just do draw a simple mesh in this place. And you know what? I think we're going to draw it across the entire space. And you can see that by default we have something in the mesh which signifies that that's grass. But for this case, I want to use some other materials which are not grass. So I think I'll go ahead and let's expand this such that the building breathes a little. Okay, even behind, something like that. And then this one is going to be negative 150, just for one step, right? And let's go ahead and go to the settings. And this time we're going to get rid of this cover fill, and we will change this surface to be paved, because I imagine across the building we'll just have paving, simple paver, and pavement brick moss is gonna do for us. Okay, so now we have ourselves a simple mesh and paved, and then below that we will have also a street level. So let's put the street level on the street area here. So let's click that and put this street level in this place, and in order to see it and align it on the top, we may want to change the reference layer by choosing the reference to be above. So when we do that, now we can see whatever is happening. So we have something like so. And remember, this goes inward, so we may need to add this place here. So we can add this small section here in plan, and as well on the ground floor we can subtract it from this polygon, from this mesh, such that it doesn't hide our steps. Okay, so be sure to remove this part such that we are able to see our steps in this area. Okay, so here in 3D we should get something like so, which is not bad. It's certainly where we will begin from, and for the sake of representation, we might want to tone this stuff down. For example, this one, we need it to be at 0, such that it aligns with our building, like so. But then this one can stay where it is, and then we can make this shorter. Let's make this 500 perhaps, and make it longer instead. Okay, such that we have more space. Maybe we have a car park in this area, and for this one we can make it shorter by clicking on any of the nodes, and then we can reduce the height such that it aligns with this one right here. Okay, and to avoid this flickering effect, we may want to take this back, and let's take it back by 2 meters, because we would love to have something happening here. And as well, we will take this back by 3 meters. Okay, although this is going to affect our floor plan, so what I recommend doing, you can see that we have some lines crossing through our floor plans which don't make any sense. So we can just add these parts, this part like so, such that it gets hidden within there. And let's add this part like so. But anyway, it doesn't matter. We will have to deal to work it out later. So I usually like to push this inside such that it doesn't show at the extreme, at the ends. Okay, at the ends, at the wall surfaces. Okay, and what that leaves us with is space between this level and that level, and we need something to fill up here, and with that we can use the mesh itself. So let's use this mesh, the one which we already have. So let's draw, even here in 3D, let's just draw a simple element, which is that roof, and you can see it fills that gap pretty well. And as well, we need to get to reduce this ever so slightly such that it doesn't affect our wall. And also let's create a simple fill mesh in this area. And once we have created it, the beauty about mesh is that we can elevate them. For example, we can elevate this node by clicking on elevate node, which is the last options that you have on the pet palette. And then you can see that this node is being elevated to this point, and then we can elevate this node to this point which is kind of cool, right? So now we have bridged the gap between this level and that level, so people can get across. And we'll do the same for this space here. So we will click on this node, take it to the top, and click on this node, take it to the top, and we have ourselves something pretty cool. All right. And then something that I did notice on the ground floor, we have these large doors here which don't make any sense really, and opening like this is not really space efficient because our design is quite compact. So I would think that maybe we should choose sliding doors instead of these swing doors. So for this one can be side hang, so it can be this type of door, but perhaps we can flip it. So let's select this door, which is not easy to select, and in order for you to select it, you may want to hold down shift but then keep pressing tab when you're around this area, especially on the nodes. So you can see once you hold down shift and keep pressing tab, you are able to change to different things, and you can you can select it. And once it's selected, I want to flip it such that this one opens inward, such that once you go onto the steps you can open outward. But then these two doors, we can make them sliding. So let's go to the settings, making sure that we do not change any dimensions. We will go to sliding doors and look for a similar doors, which is going to be a double door with a transom. Great. So this is what we want. So you don't want to click it directly because you will lose everything that we have set up already. So Control Alt to click, and then it means that we will keep everything that we have in the settings. The only thing that's going to change is that it's going to be a sliding door. Okay, and that's really awesome. So we conserve some space. So we just have one door here where you can slide back and you enter the house, which is kind of cool. And then finally, before we leave, the other thing that I did notice is that this door, we can make it a little better such that it looks good. Let's choose another type of door. For example, so we will make it a single door, a single pane door, and I'm going to make it an HV grid instead. And then of course it's going to be 2 leaves since it's a folding door, and I need to go to the settings of this mullion. Okay, so let's go. In the width, currently we have only 12, so let's make it a little thicker, maybe 50 millimeters. But then I need to work on this. So the horizontal, let's keep it as 1 division, but then vertically I can put as many as I like. In this case, I think I'm going to put over 15. I think from 15 to 20 should be a nice number to work with. Okay. And I think that looks way better. It looks way better in my opinion. Okay, and for that case, I think I'd like to have some wood in this place because there's too much metal going on. So for this one, I'm going to have it selected, go to the settings, and then I will choose a model attributes here, the very first model attributes, such that I change this into wood mahogany. So let's go to some wood mahogany, and that will do for me. Okay, I think that's pretty cool, isn't it? All right, and you can see in just a few steps we have ourselves a clean and nice model to work with. All right, so the first part of this series is done, so we can head over to the next part where we create working drawings. that can be used to build this thing.